Hi, this is Denise Matthew. I hope you're doing well. I'm here today to talk about the overall view of the transits that we can look out for 2023. So now it's time to start to move forward into 2023, carrying with you the lessons that you learned from 2022, but not really trying to take any of the baggage with you. And when I talk about baggage, I'm really talking about this idea of if things didn't go to plan or things didn't go as we wanted them to go, sometimes it's easy to bring that into the new year and wonder if you will get the things that you want to happen in the year ahead. And that is one of those stumbling blocks that truly doesn't belong when you're trying to move forward. Are there lessons that you could learn from the way things turned out? Absolutely. But that's really all you need. And that is sort of what we're looking at for the overall theme of 2023. This is a lot of energy that's going to be repeating that we have seen in 2022. For instance, Pluto will be remaining in the gate 60, and it will be talking about limitation and transcendence. And the transcendence comes from this idea that when we feel, or our minds, for instance, feel that we are not limited. In fact, we do have an ability to move within the parameters of where we are in our existence. It is then that we have this transcendence of the limitations where they no longer matter. And usually that's when we have some leveling up that happens in our lives. Or alternatively, the obstacles sort of move out of our path and we start to have some freedom to move forward. So with that said, let's get into the details. So if we look at the beginning of the year, we have Pluto already in the gate 60 line 2. We've already looked at the theme of the gate 60 line 1, and that every first line energy, as I said, is this building of a foundation to find some security in the not knowing, you could say. If you look at the color that is connected with 1, it is the color of fear, you could say. But fear is the master of all intelligence. That's what Ra Uruhu said. And really that means that when we have anxiety or fear or we're scared of the unknown, when we research and decide that we need to find more information or you need to find more information about something, a lot of times you can feel a lot more secure because you know something that about this thing that is brand new. You know, for instance, if you have to go to a new job, before you go to that new job, you want to maybe take a drive to the new job to have practice with the routes so that you know exactly how you're going to get to work when you start. So that's one thing, that you have that knowledge about that new job, how you're going to get there. That takes that impetus away of that anxiety that you might feel of, oh, will I be there on time? Because you've already sort of done the legwork. And that's really what we learned from the gate 60 and the line 1. It really taught us about the idea of what limitation meant to you and how it can be incorporated into your life so that you can move forward, continue to live, and not always feel oppressed by not having those things that you want. Now, some of the things that we saw in 2022, and of course, we can also look at this being Saturn at play as well in the gate 49, is we had some of these limitations on, for instance, baby formula, limitations on food. A lot of countries were stopping exporting things. So you started to look at things. How can we do it in a way that is more sustainable for us to live and not really always rely on somebody else? And that is what the gate 60 line 1 was teaching us, or teaching the whole collective, because it is sort of this idea of this generalized theme that comes in and shows you something different. And I think when you first start with something that is brand new, it can be overwhelming and impactful. But as the year progressed, maybe the limitations that you found in your life were something that you could start to think about alternative ways. And we bring in the gate 56, which is the opposition that gives you strategies for how to work with the energy of the gate 60. And that says creativity, using stories of the past. What did they used to do? Those types of things were this remedy to work with the limitations of your life and in general. And in 2023, that continues to be a theme that we're going to be looking at. How can we creatively work within the limitations that we have? So we know that the limitations are transcended when it is the right timing, when we get the universal directive that says, okay, now it's time for you to transcend. Until that moment, living within your limitations, understanding that this is part of your growth, because Pluto is always about growth. And when we look at Pluto in the gate 60, we know that that is the end of the mandala. This is the end of all, and we begin a brand new cycle that's going to begin in April 2024. And that is when Pluto makes its initial trip into the gate 41 after about 248 years, which is quite a long time. And it's bringing a brand new energy into the collective. The gate 41 is the beginning of all things, but the gate 41 comes in and says, okay, now it's time to streamline your life. What do we need to keep going forward, and what will we let go of and sort of move away? But the gate 60 is also really trying to get us to let go of the things that no longer serve us, to let go of the habits, the things that we do that maybe are not in your best interest, the things that you do that maybe sabotage you, but you're looking at it and saying, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. And now is your opportunity to get rid of those things that just don't serve you any longer. And with the gate 60, it's almost like a trial by fire where you have to actually start to shift things up, because the gate 60 says, okay, this is mutation. We are making something new out of the old material that we have. And now you have to shift. Now you have to make something new of what you already have in your backpack and make it into something that you want to carry forward into the new world, you could say, or the new energy of 2024. We started the year of 2023 with the gate 60 line 2, and because Pluto is going direct, it means that it's going to move through the energies a lot quicker than when it's in retrograde. So it will go through right up to the 5th line, the gate 60 line 5, before it begins to retrograde. So we start with the gate 60 line 2, and this is about the idea that already Pluto is giving us the indication that it is letting go of some of the heavy duty limitations that it began with. In other words, it showed us what we needed to look at in the beginning, but now it's saying, okay, you've seen it already. And if you're making changes, we're going to release the hold on you. So that's what Pluto's telling us. But with gate 60 line 2, sometimes we don't always see that we are being released and that we do have more opportunity to see something. So the gate 60 line 2 is really saying, okay, there are opportunities out there. It is your job to be open and to see when an opportunity drops in your lap. There's an alternative where you could not be looking, not be seeing, and you miss something. And that is what we don't want to happen. You definitely want to get those opportunities that are going to be there for you. Keep in mind that Pluto is neutral in the gate 60, so we can have all expressions of the energy play out as the year goes by. So when we get to the gate 60 line 3, this is where you might feel that you are extremely limited and you don't really want to do it anymore. You can't handle it anymore. And maybe you want to break out, and that's okay if you do that. But the only thing that the gate 60 line 3 says is that if you break out of the limitation before you've actually transcended it, or the universe gave you the cue to say this is, the next step in your journey, then there might be something else that comes in your way. So in other words, you could break the limitation, decide that you're done with it, but then have something else block your way quite immediately. Now, if you don't mind, if that's not a big deal for you, if anything is better than what you have, then go ahead and do it. Otherwise, it is about this transcending of being okay with what is and knowing that in our reality, nothing is permanent, and that the limitation that is within your life right now is transient. It will go, as everything does. Change is one of those things that we can always count on. A lot of times we don't want change, but sometimes we really want change. But ultimately, it will come, and you can transcend the limitations that are within you or within your life, but it is about having patience with the process, or your process in general. In February, Pluto moves into the gate 60 line 4, and then we get into resourcefulness. And as I said, it is this evolution of the energy. So we go from the foundation, or defining security in our limitations, or what will make us feel good. Then we go to the line 2, where we're sort of looking for opportunities that might be showing up, or the call that is correct for us. And then we go to the line 3, we are experimenting with what our limitations are, how far we can push the boundaries. And then we get into the gate 60 line 4, and this is called resourcefulness. And it is this maximizing of the potential that you do have. What do I have within my tool belt, and how can I use it going through the year? This is asking you to call on your resources, the things that you know about yourself, the things that you know about your life, to use them in a way that is productive, to use them in a way where you are maximizing the benefits so that you can get the most from what you are putting into the things that you're trying to make happen in your life. And there's also the alternative where you become frustrated with the limitations and you just don't want to try anymore. But what can happen is you might give up, you might throw in the towel and not even try anymore and just say nothing's going to happen. And ultimately, that's when something will happen. So it is usually the tipping point where you feel like you just don't know if you can push any further, that's when the universe says, okay, we got you. And they give you an opportunity to move forward, to transcend that limitation and to level up in some way. We finally get into the gate 60 line 5, and that will be happening in April. And this is the last push that we have before we have Pluto going retrograde, and it will slow down, and it will probably give you an opportunity to start to reflect on how things went up until that moment, or up until that time. It will stick in the gate 60 line 5 for a long time, so we will be working with this energy. Now, the gate 60 line 5 is the universalization of the energy, or the way the world sees this energy playing out in the collective. And it's also, you could say, the most exemplified, or the exaltation of the energy of any gate is always going to be the 5th line. And this is called leadership. And the key phrase for this is the energy to handle a lifelong process of dealing with limitations. So if you see, we've evolved to the point where now you see the limitations as something that is part of life. You understand that that is part of your life and that you can work with it, because it is no longer something that is nagging at you or irritating, because you see that this is part of the world that you live in. So for instance, if you have outdoor pump where you have to pump water, and every day you say, oh, it's so limiting, I really wish I had water running in my house, but that's not a possibility. So every day it becomes more of a, okay, I can deal with this, until eventually you get to the gate 60 line 5 and you say, well, this is part of my life and I'm okay with the way it is. Or alternatively, you come to a breaking point once again where you feel you can't take anymore. Now, if you do get to the breaking point, yes, that's part of being human. Sometimes that will happen. We'll get to a breaking point where we just don't want to do it anymore. But ultimately, again, that's usually the time where we find that we get to the tipping point where things start to shift. And that could be when the person comes and they start saying that we have a new project and we're going to put pipes in everybody's house and we're going to have running water in everybody's house. So there is potential to find some beauty and gifts within this energy. And if we look at Pluto as a planet, this is a planet that says we will put you in a cocoon, we will redo you all over, and you will come out as a butterfly. But it's not easy, of course, to be in that cocoon. It's not easy to not know how it's going to shape up in the long run. But ultimately, there is beauty in the transformation that can come at the end of it. With mutative energy, we never know when the transformation will come, only that we know it will come. And we do know that as 2024, we move into 2024 and going forward with the gate 41, there will be a shifting energy, big shifts. So we have a lot of energy that is saying, okay, you're doing great, keep going. You may not see the universe working on your behalf, but just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. And if that's the only thing you remember about 2023, then I think that's a key piece of information that can get you through the trials that you sometimes will hit, the blocks that we'll hit as we move through life, because that's just part of being alive. Well, that's it for the year ahead. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're still with me, thanks for coming along for the ride. And I will be back again as year progresses to talk about different transits, eclipses, Mercury retrograde, Venus retrograde, and the new and full moons. But until then, take care, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now.